Aloha and welcome back to the White Paper channel. I had prepared a couple slides for this Redditor who sent me a question, but before we get into that, I want to go ahead and say, I told you so. I completely called it that the personalized cancer vaccine would be wildly successful. And what I loved most about it was this wasn't a guess, this wasn't a gamble. We literally sat down and went through clinical data that has been published and peer reviewed to state yes, this indeed will completely work. We even have the slides here from where I mapped out how successful the head and neck, the personalized cancer vaccine against head and neck squamous cell carcinoma. And it's interesting because this is also about 44% more effective than the current gold standard of treatment. So, I think it's one of those coincidences, but it is quite interesting. So, without further ado, I got a question from Bumsel777. It's listed here and kind of wanted me to explain what the implications of this is. And so, what you really need to look out for within the next 5 years is how are they going to use this vaccine? Now, you have some haters like SVB Lear Inc. that think that this drug really doesn't have much utility directly outside of melanoma, but they are completely misunderstanding what this is. So as we've already discussed, we have seen evidence that this is extremely effective against squamous cell carcinoma. And once they have kind of the foundational proof of how this should work in terms of patterns, it will make it even easier each time that they apply for an expansion of the current use of this technology. Similar to how Keytruda has really owned the FDA fast track for the past decade. But my assumption is they will go for cancers that are currently really bad and that you need a biopsy in order to treat. So think lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, squamous cell carcinoma. This also creates, because they will be collecting all of this genetic data from everyone, they will eventually be able to put together patterns of different mutations that are creating cancer. And then they should be able to also create biomarkers for if you have cancer or if the cancer returns. So rather than getting blasted by a CT scan or sitting in an MRI machine for hours and hours, and sometimes it may not even show up, they can just do a blood test, run to see if the PCR biomarkers are back, which would signal that your cancer is reactivated and you need another round of the personalized cancer vaccine. Now let's go down here and show you. So this is kind of the current way that people think of how you treat cancer. And on the bottom is what we're currently doing, which is you diagnose the cancer, we remove it or take a biopsy of it. We either need to test it for certain biomarkers to see if it's responsive to certain chemos, or they just give the generic for whatever's indicated, and then your cancer is treated and we hope that you live. The way with this vaccine that people are thinking of it is on the top level there, which is you're diagnosed with cancer, they take the biopsy, they take the DNA from the cancer and subtract your normal DNA, so they can just draw your blood and get that, and then you're left with a list of mutations that they can make a vaccine against. So this vaccine should be tailored to just killing your cancerous cells, and then your cancer is treated. Now, if you remember when I covered the personalized cancer vaccine being used to treat head and neck squamous cell carcinoma, then you remember there was this one patient, here he is, 67, and it's in brown ink here. He had complete response of his primary cancer using the personalized cancer vaccine, but unfortunately had a metastasis that continued to worsen. Now, that's significant because the biology of a metastasis can possibly have very different biology than the primary tumor. So this leads to the way I think that this technology can be further applied. And that is, it's more of a wheel than a straightforward thing. So you do the same initial steps. You get your biopsy, you find out your list of mutations, you perform your vaccination, but then you go back and you look for metastasis or recurrence. And then you take a biopsy of that. And then you repeat the steps over and over again. Basically meaning you have an infinite number of options to treat this cancer. And when you think about it like that, basically some of these patients that previously would have only had 1 or 2 more years to live may end up getting a decade. And for that, I think some of these people who are unable to see that this is a game changer are really, really missing, the big picture. Well, anyways, I'm glad that we finally got proven right. Thank you to my 6 subscribers out there for sticking with me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.